This disability sticker looks fake. You're just trying to get special parking, aren't you? The words, sharp and cold, cut through the quiet morning air. Sergeant Major Thomas Ashton, a man who had faced far worse than an arrogant voice, looked up. He was an older man, his face etched with lines that told stories of distant lands and difficult times. He moved with a slight limp, leaning on a simple wooden cane. His clothes were plain, unassuming. Nothing about him screamed hero. He was just trying to park his old sedan in a disabled spot near the VA clinic. It was time for his regular checkup, a necessity after years of service had taken their toll on his body. He also needed to pick up his medication, the pills that helped manage the constant ache in his leg. In his pocket, his fingers found a worn, familiar object, a military challenge coin. It was a habit, a small comfort from his decades in the Army. His old phone, tucked away, held a few numbers he rarely used, but kept for emergencies, numbers of people who remembered who he was, even if the world sometimes forgot. If you believe veterans deserve respect, not suspicion, type honor below. Before Ashton could even switch off the engine, a young police officer, Officer Miller, was at his window. Miller's uniform was crisp, his face set in an expression of self-importance. He tapped on the glass impatiently. Ashton lowered the window. "This disability sticker looks fake," Officer Miller repeated, his voice louder now, accusing. "You're just trying to get special parking, aren't you? Let me see your license and registration, and this so-called permit." His eyes scanned Ashton with open disbelief. Ashton felt a familiar weariness settle over him, but he kept his voice steady and calm. "Officer, I assure you, it's quite real. I'm here for my appointment at the VA clinic." He reached for his wallet, pulling out his VA identification card and the official state-issued disability placard. He offered them to the officer. Officer Miller took the documents, glancing at them with a scoff. "These things can be faked," he said, handing them back dismissively. "I've seen it all. People like you try this stuff constantly." "People like me?" Ashton asked, his voice still quiet, but with a new edge of pain. "Yeah, people looking for an easy way out," Miller sneered. "Get out of the car. I think you're obstructing justice by arguing with me." Ashton looked at the officer, then at the clinic doors. He needed to get inside. "Officer," he began, "I am not arguing. I am a disabled veteran." But Miller wasn't listening. "Out. Now." He opened Ashton's car door and, to Ashton's shock, reached for his arm. Despite Ashton's visible limp, despite the cane resting against the seat, Officer Miller pulled him from the car and, with practiced efficiency, twisted his arms behind his back. The cold metal of handcuffs clicked shut. Ashton felt a surge of anger, quickly followed by a deep, aching sadness. He had served his country for 30 years. He had endured pain, faced enemy fire, lost friends. And now, this. Treated like a common criminal for trying to see his doctor. But years of military discipline kicked in. He remained outwardly calm, his face a mask of stoicism, though his heart pounded with injustice. What could he do? Argue more? This officer clearly wasn't interested in listening to reason. He was already in handcuffs, leaning unsteadily against the side of his own car. The officer was talking into his radio, probably reporting his great arrest. Then a memory surfaced, a promise made long ago by his old unit commander, General Peterson. "If you ever need anything, Tom," the general had said, his hand firm on Ashton's shoulder, "anything at all, you call this number. Day or night." Ashton knew General Peterson was now a very important man at the Pentagon. And, by a stroke of luck, he'd seen a notice inside the VA last month. General Peterson was scheduled to visit this very clinic today for an official inspection. If you've ever been judged unfairly, type "I understand" in the comments. "Officer," Ashton said, his voice level, "may I make one phone call? It's important." Officer Miller turned, a smirk playing on his lips. "Oh, finally decided to call your lawyer? Go ahead, won't help you much. You're already cuffed." He seemed to enjoy the older man's predicament. Ashton nodded slowly. With his cuffed hands, it was awkward, but he managed to retrieve his old phone. He used his thumb to dial the number he knew by heart. It rang twice. "Peterson," a gruff voice answered. "General Peterson, sir," Ashton said, his voice low but clear. "It's Sergeant Major Ashton, Tom Ashton." There was a pause. "Tom? What is it? Where are you?" "I'm at the VA clinic, sir, the one on Elm Street. Well, There's a bit of a situation with local law enforcement. He kept his explanation brief, factual. No emotion, just the facts. On the other end of the line, General Peterson, who was indeed in a meeting with the VA clinic director and his staff, felt a chill. Sergeant Major Tom Ashton was not a man to call for trivialities. A situation? The general repeated, his voice hardening. Stay right there, Tom. I'm on my way. He ended the call and stood up abruptly. Excuse me, Colonel, Director, he said to the surprised men in the room. Something urgent has come up, with one of my best men. Ashton put his phone away. He waited. The sun climbed a little higher. Officer Miller leaned against his squad car, arms crossed, still smirking, clearly thinking the call was a bluff. An old man trying to scare him with an imaginary friend. Only a few minutes passed. It felt longer. Then, the main doors of the VA clinic burst open. First came General Peterson, his uniform immaculate, stars gleaming on his shoulders. His face was like a thundercloud. Behind him strode the VA clinic director, a colonel in his own right, looking concerned. And behind them, a group of about a dozen active duty soldiers, part of the general's entourage and some who had been in the clinic's waiting room, fanned out, their expressions serious as they saw the scene. They moved quickly, purposefully, surrounding the squad car in a silent, formidable semicircle. Officer Miller's smirk vanished as if wiped away. His jaw dropped. His eyes widened in disbelief, then fear, as he took in the sight of the general, the colonel, and the imposing soldiers now looking directly at him. He turned pale. What's going on here? He stammered, his earlier arrogance gone. General Peterson didn't stop until he was inches from Officer Miller. His voice was low, but it carried the weight of command. Officer, he began, his eyes like ice. What is the meaning of this? Do you have any idea who you have just placed in handcuffs? He gestured towards Ashton, who stood quietly by his car. This, General Peterson declared, his voice rising, is Sergeant Major Thomas Ashton, a decorated hero of this nation, recipient of the Silver Star for valor. 3 Purple Hearts earned in combat. He has served this country with honor and distinction for 30 years. 30 years. And you have him in handcuffs for trying to park his car to get medical attention he earned 100 times over? The clinic director looked horrified, stepping forward. Officer, what happened here? Before Officer Miller could invent an answer, sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The police chief, alerted by a frantic call from the VA director, arrived, lights flashing. He took one look at the scene, the cuffed veteran, the furious general, the surrounding soldiers, his very flustered officer, and his face fell. General Peterson, Sergeant Major Ashton, the chief exclaimed, rushing forward. He immediately turned to Miller. Officer Miller, release this man, now. Miller, fumbling with the keys, uncuffed Ashton. The chief then faced Ashton, his expression one of deep regret. Sergeant Major Ashton, on behalf of the entire Northwood Police Department, I am so deeply, profoundly sorry. There is no excuse for this treatment. Absolutely no excuse. General Peterson stepped forward and gently took Ashton's arm. Let's get you to your appointment, Tom, he said softly. The VA clinic director personally escorted Ashton inside, assuring him that his care was their utmost priority and that he would be seen immediately. Officer Miller stood frozen, his face a mask of dawning realization. He started to stammer an excuse, something about procedures and fake permits. The police chief cut him off sharply. Miller, my office. Now, and hand over your badge and service weapon. You are suspended, pending a full and thorough investigation. Later, Officer Miller would be assigned to mandatory sensitivity training, de-escalation courses, and a very long, very dull stint on desk duty, reviewing parking regulations. The police department and the VA clinic issued a joint public statement condemning the officer's actions. The department swiftly implemented new training protocols specifically for interacting with veterans, especially those with visible or invisible disabilities. They established a permanent liaison office with the VA to prevent such incidents from ever happening again. What do you think should happen to people who disrespect veterans? Share your thoughts. Sergeant Major Ashton received his checkup and his medication. General Peterson stayed with him, sharing quiet words until Ashton was ready to leave. The respect he was shown inside the clinic was a stark contrast to the disrespect he had faced in the parking lot. News of the incident spread like wildfire through the town and online. People were outraged at how Ashton had initially been treated, but uplifted by the swift intervention and the powerful display of solidarity from General Peterson and the other soldiers. It became a story people told, a reminder. Ashton himself sought no further attention. He was a humble man, content to return to his quiet life. He was simply glad that justice had been done, and that perhaps his unpleasant experience might lead to better understanding for others. He shook General Peterson's hand firmly before he left. "Thank you, sir, for everything." The general smiled, a rare and warm expression. "It's the least we could do for one of our own, Tom, the very least. You taught us all what loyalty means." This story reminds us that heroes often walk among us, unseen, unrecognized. They don't wear capes, but they carry the marks of service, seen and unseen. They deserve not suspicion, but our deepest respect and understanding. Never judge a person by their outward appearance or assume the worst. Dignity is for everyone. If you believe our veterans are treasures who deserve unwavering respect, type "respect our vets" in the comments below. And please, subscribe to this channel for more stories where truth and justice prevail. Remember, a little kindness can change everything.